You would not believe how long I've wanted to cover this game, and yet I've never quite gotten round to it. But now's the time. One of my favourite Mega Drive developers is the legendary Wolf Team, makers of the likes of El Viento, and that was one of the first reviews I ever did. And that might be a strange game for a platformer, seeing as it features a magical girl in a sort of 1920s New York gangster stroke Indiana Jones-esque cave type setting. Bloody fun though. But in the world of Esoterica, it's nothing compared to its brother. Ernest Evans is the second game in what is usually known as the Annette Trilogy, thematically the prequel to El Viento, and it revolves around the oh-so-anime version of Indy, a whip-slinging blonde-haired son of a gun who always has a plaster on his cheek, just like his idol, Nelly. And, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But terrible in the most endearing possible way. How so? Well, just keep watching. Ernest Evans features many of the classic Wolf Team trademarks. Pumping soundtrack by the legendary Motoi Sakuraba? Check. High quality graphics? Check. Action that's almost too much for the system to take? Check. There's all that and of course the customary Wolf Team weirdness, which here is ramped up to 11. How so? Well, just look at him. He's, well, every single limb of Evans's is animated and separate from the others, coming together to basically make Evans a ragdoll that you control. It looks like Quap only 20 years before that. Controlling this ragdoll is a nightmare, not just because there's so much delay on every action, but because of things that are unique only to this game, like getting trapped in a crevice and rolling in place, or being chucked about everywhere by your whip, or crawling hilariously backwards for a tunnel. Just so many things. It never stops being funny. You might be annoyed at how the game plays, but you'll be laughing a lot too. And it certainly doesn't stop there. The levels in Ernest Evans are even more out there. When the first level alone features a spike trap, a potion that actually puts you to sleep, and a final indie-esque part where you're chased by a boulder, you know you're in for a ride. The third level starts with this. I mean, holy fuck. How do you even top that for the rest of the stage? Another level just happens to feature the Ernest one doing this. And all of these levels are pretty short too, only a couple of minutes long on average. It's just unbelievable how much stuff they fit in. The game continues Wolf Team's trend of bigger being better. It'll drive the Mega Drive to its absolute limit, with endless amounts of enemies to beat and so much variation. There's some huge enemies too, firing appropriate amounts of projectiles, which naturally causes slowdown. Lots of slowdown. This is also a feature of most Wolf Team games, although honestly, I think Wolf Team wanted it a lot of the time. Wow, so the game slows down when we put 100 bullets on the screen all at once? Cool! It looks just like a John Woo movie. And then all of a sudden the game actually remembers that it's supposed to be set in the 1920s, so it sticks you on an old steam train with some gangsters. Or at least until another huge monster bursts out of the coal carriage. Jesus, this game. And if there's one place where this aesthetic really shines, it's the frickin' boss fights, of which there are many, and many of which are just out-bloody-rageous. And hey, you can even play this on the Mega CD and enjoy even more hilarity with the rather badly made anime cutscenes. Only this version of the game was released in the West with English voices. Can you imagine that? Really? Jeez, that'd be something. The thing about Ernest Evans is that a significant part of it is totally amazing. Make no mistake, if this game had featured a more conventional sprite for its protagonist, something more akin to Annette from El Viento, it would be a classic, one of the best Mega Drive action platformers without a shadow of a doubt. So much of it is Wolf Team at their best, with endless set pieces and stunts that completely baffle the mind but just never stop. There's more great action ideas in a single level of Ernest Evans than you'll find in a dozen dull identikit contemporaries. But of course, things wouldn't work out that way. Why? Because one day, in a narcotic-induced haze, someone said, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool to have our main character look like and control like a ragdoll?" And everyone else was like, yeah, cool, let's do it! And of course it turned out to be a terrible and unworkable idea, creating a game that is pretty close to unplayable in the most literal meaning of that word. But the beautiful thing about Wolf Team is that they saw this idea out all the way to the end, to the logical conclusion of releasing their experiments for all to see. This may be the worst game that Wolf Team ever produced, but it's certainly not the least interesting. And you just have to experience it for yourself, at least once. If not to understand what it's like, then just for the sheer hilarity of it all. What a game. What a company. See you tomorrow.